Welcome to Bold Talk series where creativity, leadership, ideas, and innovation come together. My name is Ludvik, and today I have a privilege to have a short one-on-one conversation with Cornel Amariei, the founder and CEO of Lumen. Cornel, great seeing you, and welcome to our Bold Talk series. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm having a great week, and like any entrepreneurship week, it's a week in which you have many ups and many downs, but that's the beauty of it, that dynamic range between them.
Keeping up with that great spirit. Did I pronounce your last name correctly?
Yes, you did. I was actually kind of impressed how close you are to my name. So you definitely have some roots in this area if you know how to pronounce my name correctly.
That's for sure. So let's start it. So first of all, I truly, you're a true inspiration as a young entrepreneur. I've seen you grow in all areas in the innovation side of things, and the latest venture that you took on the dot lumen. It is really amazing and inspiring, and the work that you're doing. Can you introduce dot lumen to people who don't know what dot lumen is and what
Sure.
it does, and its mission in the world of technology and innovation?
Definitely. So I can give you like a 1 minute pitch, and the most basic thing of it is that at Lumen we build glasses that empower the blind to live a better life. So we all started from a problem showing that there's 40 million blind people in the world, but you only have 28,000 guide dogs. So the most used or the best mobility solution for them, the guide dog, is not scalable. So what we decided is to use technology, self-driving technology, to build a pair of glasses which actually replicate what the guide dog does, but without the drawbacks that make the guide dog a non-scalable solution. We were the first in the world to design this. We patented worldwide. Now we're in a clinical investigation, and very, very quickly, we're going to be able to empower millions and millions of blind individuals worldwide.
Wow. I saw this in your website. 40 million blind people. Is that globally?
It's 40 million blind people globally. It's actually even more than that. So it's roughly to the 50 million already at this point. But on top of that, you have more than 200 million people which have severe visual impairment. So they see so little that their mobility is affected. So
Hmm.
in the end, the amount of people we can help is even more than those 40 million blind people.
Yeah, and there's a mention in your website, there's a 28,000 guide dogs available. That's globally. So how in the
Yep.
world someone who can see have access to these dogs, right?
It's a very long process. It's a very cumbersome process. There are two reasons why there are why there are so few guide dogs. Number one, to train a guide dog, it can reach up to 60,000 euros. And to take care of a guide dog as a single blind individual is almost impossible. Simply too much responsibility. You have to dedicate an hour and a half, 2 hours a day into maintaining and taking care of the guide dog. It's not a kind of pet which you can ignore. If you ignore it, or if you ignore it, its performance will degrade.
Hmm.
So what you must do is continuously train, continuously take care of it, and that takes an hour and a half or 2 hours a day. And for these two reasons, there are so few guide dogs in the world.
Yeah. As a leader at Dot Lumen, what are your core principles when it comes to being effective leadership, given the fact that this poll talks about leadership, creativity, innovation, ideas?
Well, in our case, I think a lot of them we learned on the way, and it ended up in a few values which we have, and I think those values perfectly reflect what kind of leadership we have here. And I would actually start with the first one, which is not necessarily related, but our number one value and the first value of this company is make meaning, not money. That's the number one value of the company, which is really related to what we're trying to do here. What we're doing here is we see problems and we come up with solutions with only one purpose: to help people. However, because all of us have the same belief and all of us are coming from a background in which, in some cases, they had a friend who had a problem, or they have parents with disabilities, or they had a friend which they lost. They all come from this kind of backgrounds, and they're really motivated by this core value we have: make meaning, not money. Now, one which is much closer to leadership is actually number three, and our number three value, we call it no expert. What do we mean by this? We do not believe in people who are only good at one thing. We have absolutely amazing people, some of the smartest people you can find all over the place. We have them here. But on top of what they are here for, they are great. Some of them are musicians, some of them are painters, some of them are poets, and they also happen to be some of the best people in R&D. But we really bring everybody in with their passions, and we share our passions. We spend a tremendous amount of time together, sharing our passions, discussing our hobbies, doing things together. Those are the kind of things which we expect from people to bring in. And once you have this, once you have people which are incredibly motivated to create meaning, and once you have people who bring their passions, not just their work here, that's when leadership becomes so much easier. My view on leadership is that, for example, in my role as CEO, I'm at the top of a pyramid, but that pyramid is sitting upside down. So I'm basically the one who must do everything that nobody else does. I'm the one who picks up the tasks that nobody else wants to do. That is my job as a CEO. I'm the chief everything officer for everything that nobody else wants to do. But our role in leadership, is to create the context for the people around us to do the best work of their lives. And let me just give you a very quick example, which I think is quite well pointed here. A couple of years ago, we won one of the most important industrial design awards in the world. We won the Red Dot Luminary Award. We were competing with Virgin Galactic in the last phases, and we won. A small startup from here, from Romania, won the most important industrial design award in the world. And that made our designer, our industrial designer, that made him be recognized as one of the best industrial designers in the world. But that's when I realized something. He was always one of the best industrial designers in the world. He never had the right context to prove how good he is. But it's our job as leadership, as friends, as family members, etc., to create that context for the people around us. And it's my job and my management team's job to create that context for the people around, to do the best job, the best work of their life. Because I'm pretty sure that, as my industrial designer story is, I'm pretty sure there are like 20,000 more stories like that one. They just never had the context. It's our job as leaders to create that context for the people which we lead, to do the best work of their life.
That's amazing. Make meaning and not money. Is that right? Or
Yep, that's it. That's it.
well, we're living this economic planet, right? And the stability and growth, it derives from sales. How do you approach risk taking and experimentation in the pursuit of innovation that you're doing? I mean, your product, when I look at it, it's so focused in one group of people that have this a big need. Who is the person that buys that? First, that product, is it their brothers and sisters, their relatives, whoever that is, and who are you targeting that? And how you make sure that you are in business of also, beside making meaning, making also money to sustain yourself?
Well, first of all, let me say the second part of our first value. So our first value is make meaning, not money, and the second part is money will come after. We fundamentally believe that the moment you help, inevitably you'll get money. So the moment you help people, inevitably you'll get to money. Now, let me answer your second question regarding who is paying for this. We are in a unique situation, not necessarily unique because it's a situation which in medtech applies, but we are in a situation where it's not the blind, it's not their families who's going to pay for what we do. All over the world, you have reimbursement or subsidy mechanisms for assistive technologies like what we do. On top of that, we are also certifying as a medical device, a class 1 medical device. And because of that, we are also eligible to healthcare reimbursement. But for simplicity, I will just discuss about the assistive technology reimbursement schemes. So basically, at least in the European Union, but not only in the European Union, but at least in the European Union, this device in most countries is going to be free for the blind individual. So our end user and our paying customer is not the same. Our end user is the people with a disability. Our paying customer varies country by country. It can be a specific ministry, it can be a specific program, a specific ministry, sorry, a specific government program, specific EU funds program. It really varies country by country. But overall, at least in the European Union, in a majority of cases, it's going to be free.
Wow.
And I forgot your third question. There was a third question there. It was a third part of the question, but
Yeah,
I kind of
so
forgot it.
so the risk taken while you are doing this innovation, right? The approach to risk taken. What how do you approach that?
I would love to tell you a formula. I would love to tell you a formula because the moment I will have it, I will also use it. You know, um, I've been doing innovation for basically all of my life. The first job I ever had was when I was 15, and I was actually hired in an R&D company designing robots which do gamma ray scanning. So I've been in R&D for over 15 years at this point, and I never found up until, I mean, you can do all the metrics. You can make risk matrices for analyzing. You can do a lot of things, but at the end, it's your gut feeling and your experience which will tell you that is worth it or that is not. But now, as a full disclaimer, I'm discussing about business risks. I'm not discussing about risks of the product. That's a completely different subject. Risk management in medical devices, it's a ISO 14971 standard. So that we do by the book. I'm discussing about business. I'm not discussing about, do we pursue that direction or do we not? Do we risk investing in this direction, which we know it might fail, or do we not? What we kind of do, and I think we do this for quite a while. I did in multiple organizations. I did this. I always search for the way in which I can invest 10% of resources and find out 80% and mitigate 80% of the risk. So whenever there is a direction in which the decision is not clear if it will lead to more risks or less risks, I always invest just a bit more to get more detail. So there's always a funnel of the risk is always decreasing the amount of resources you invest. My the rule or the way which we do this is that we invest the absolute minimum amount of resources when there's the most risk, and we kind of increase those resources as the risk mitigates. And I think that's a common metric. I just think it sounds like easy when I say it, but it's so many years of doing this for a while. But in most cases, end of the day, there's a gut feeling telling me, yes, this I think is worth a bit more investing in order to mitigate the risk, or this isn't. At the same time, right now in my mind, I have counterexamples. I have edge cases which never work this way. So I would love to say I have the perfect formula. I don't. It's a gut feeling, which I think as a group we kind of developed in Lumen at least, and we applied that. But overall, minimum amount of investment when the risk is the biggest in order to see if we can manage or not that risk.
Trust your spirit. That's the gut that lives within each one of us. Am I correct here? You were one of the youngest chief innovation officers for a large organization. Is that right?
I was quite young when I got
Yeah.
that role. It
How
was
how did you get that job?
I remember when I was like 16 and working in this R&D company designing gamma ray scanning robots. I had multiple mentors there. I learned a lot while I was in I was in high school. I was already working in R&D. I learned a lot from them, and I remember particularly one university professor which was working there as a researcher, and he told me something. He told me, Cornel, in life you only have to be smart for 60 seconds. Just make sure those 60 seconds are in the right moment. And it was exactly that. I got the occasion of meeting a very senior vice president of the company, to whom I presented some innovation projects which I was leading in a local location in that particular company. He enjoyed it very much. I mean, he never saw something like that in the company. I was incredibly creative. I had experience in creating new things, and as a like side topic, whenever you get exposed to something new, whenever you for me, it was the first time in automotive back then. I always had assumptions about how things were made. And when I entered the automotive field, I found out they were not made that way. And I was like, okay, they are made in a different way, but the way my mind thought they were made, there might be something about that. And we actually, my first week working in automotive, I wrote 12 patents, which was actually the record for that country per year. I beat the record in 1 week. And I got a chance of meeting the senior vice president. I presented what we're building, and he said, next time you are at my base location, let's discuss. And that's when the interview process began. Months many months later, I got into a role of managing innovation on a large level. Let's put it this way, on a very
Wow.
large level.
Well, that's bold, man. You know, for to have that courage to get to that level in such a
I
young.
was 23 or 24 at that stage.
That's amazing. Cornel, what's your vision for the future of that lumen?
I always am careful about answering this one, but I can tell you what's my dream.
Okay.
I think the easiest thing which I can tell is my what's my first dream. And I'm actually always scared of having just one dream. And I'll explain why. My dream, my mission right now, what I work towards for is the following. We have guide dogs as a solution reported for thousands of years. We are professionally training guide dogs since the First World War. And in the entirety of this time, the absolute maximum we ever had was 28,000 guide dogs. That's absolutely the most it was possible. The moment there are more than 28,000 lumen devices helping people, that's the moment when we beat a millennia old paradigm. That's my first dream. That's what I'm working towards for day by day. The moment we reach that, and it's not very far, the moment we reach that, what's your next goal? And that is the question which I have for me, because what we do is incredibly hard. It's at the limit of what technology can do. And just to give a metric, I mean, to find a startup, it's incredibly hard. It's amazingly difficult. Any rational person would quit. Any rational person would not start a startup, actually. But then, if you have a startup which makes hardware, it's 10 times harder. If you have a startup which is also medtech, 10 times harder. If you have a startup which builds something for people with disability, 10 times harder. A startup in Romania, where I'm from, 10 times harder. And then you multiply all of them, and welcome to Lumen. It makes statistically no sense how we can exist. But it's not only that we're existing. We grew more than any startup in history of Romania in the pre-revenue stage. We raised more money than any pre-revenue startup in the history of Romania. We were the first deep tech startup of Romania. We were the first Romanian startup to get funding from the European Innovation Council. So all of these firsts are a complete contradiction of the amount of challenges and of how hard it is. But at the same time, there's an expression which I really love from Guy Kawasaki, I think employee number 100 in Apple. He always said that the biggest challenges beget best work. And I fully agree. The reason why we're doing so well what we're doing is because we went headlong into a challenge, which was so complicated, so difficult, that there was only one way to navigate it. And that was by doing the absolute best work. So again, my goal is to surpass 28,000 units which are helping blind individuals. Then we change the millennial paradigm. My next goal that I will keep to myself, but it's even bolder than that.
Love it. For you're a true inspiration for many, and also I want to thank you for knowing that how hard it is and going and pursuing this, because you're going to do such a great good for these people who truly need the device that you're working on. And as you said, like having a startup is hard, but doing a hardware, and you went on with being in Romania, all that. What does bold mean to you, Cornel? The word bold.
The word bold for me, means, I think, failing 9 times and getting up 10. I
Love
think that's what it means to me. On one hand, on the other hand, it also means of not assuming, but rushing, starting, building something which everybody thinks it's impossible. I think both of them. We're incredibly bold here. I mean, I think Walt Disney had he always, whenever he saw something, he always wanted the next level of it.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same for us. One of our values, I mentioned there were four, I mentioned two of them. Our second value is designed, not made. It's about really putting the effort into proper planning, into proper designing, into proper thinking about how something can help, how you can turn it to volume 11 if volume 10 is the maximum, and then building it and then doing it. It's just like we don't just build things here, we design things. And that's something which I think is really went through this company on multiple levels. And don't get me wrong, we're not doing it perfectly, but I really expect that level of commitment in everything we do, from the way we do cable management on our office, in our desks, up to the way we design the product. It's all about being designed, not made. And having that at that level is something which, again, I consider very, very bold. To just common sense says that this is the limit. Let's see, let's push it. I think that common engineering sense or common reasonable business development sense.
Love it.
We just push that.
Love it, man. I learned so much in this interview. Truly, thank you again, Cornel. Always be bold. Congrats on all of your achievement and persevering and pushing to the next heights all the time. I wish you all the best and thank you for joining me and looking forward to our next conversation in the future. Take care of yourself, be great, God bless, and be bold.
Thank you so much. Pleasure being here.
Thank you.